Good morning everyone. Today I will present a market analysis of electric vehicle industry in Indonesia. Over the past decade, electric vehicles have transformed from a niche technology into one of the fastest growing segments of the global automotive industry. Governments are promoting cleaner transportation, manufacturers are investing billions of dollars in EV development, and consumers are gradually shifting toward electric mobility. Indonesia occupies a particularly interesting position within this transition. Unlike many countries that primarily participate as consumers of electric vehicles, Indonesia possesses one of the world's largest reserves of nickel, a key raw material used in lithium-ion batteries that gives the country a strategic advantage in a market where battery production has become just as important as vehicle manufacturing itself. As a result, Indonesia is attracting a significant investment from automotive companies, battery producers, and technology firms seeking to establish presence in the growing EV ecosystem. In this presentation, I will analyze the current condition of Indonesia EV market, examine the competitive landscape, identify emerging opportunities, and evaluate the industry profitability potential. To understand Indonesia EV market, it is important to begin with batteries. In a conventional automobile industry, the most valuable components are often the engine and transmission. In an electric vehicle, however, the battery represents a significant portion of the vehicle total cost. This means that countries capable of supplying battery materials possess a major competitive advantage. Indonesia is one of the world's largest producers of nickel, a critical raw material used in lithium-ion batteries. Recognizing these opportunities, the government has introduced policies aimed at encouraging domestic processing and battery manufacturing rather than simply exporting raw materials. As a result, Indonesia is attempting to position itself not as only as a market for electric vehicles but also as a key part of the global EV supply chain. The growth of Indonesia EV market is being driven by several interconnected trends. The first is government support. Various incentives have been introduced to encourage both manufacturers and consumers to adopt electric vehicles. These policies are designed to accelerate market growth while attracting foreign investment. The second trend is declining cost of battery technology. Historically, batteries were the largest obstacle of widespread EV adoption because they made electric vehicles significantly more expensive than conventional cars. However, advances in manufacturing and economies of scale have gradually reduced battery costs. The third trend is infrastructure development. Public charging stations are becoming increasingly available in major cities along important transportation routes. While the network is still developing, it is expanding rapidly compared to just a few years ago. Together, these trends are creating conditions that support long-term market growth. Competition in Indonesia EV market is increasingly influenced by Chinese manufacturers. Over the last decade, China has developed one of the world's most advanced EV industries. Chinese companies have achieved significant advantage in battery production, manufacturing cell, and cost efficiency. As a result, many Chinese brands are able to offer electric vehicles at prices that are more accessible to consumers. Companies such as BYD and Wuling have gained attention in Indonesia by targeting mass market with relatively affordable EV models. At the same time, established manufacturers such as Hyundai and Toyota continue to invest heavily in Indonesia market. These companies possess strong brand recognition, extensive dealership network, and long-standing consumer trust. Consequently, the Indonesia EV market is becoming a contest between cost competitiveness and brand strength. Despite recent progress, electric vehicle ownership in Indonesia remains relatively low compared to the country's overall vehicle population. This creates substantial room for future expansion. One important opportunity lies in battery production. Since batteries account for a large share of an EV value, developing a domestic battery industry could generate significant economic benefits. Indonesia's nickel resource provides a foundation for this strategy. Another opportunity comes from Southeast Asia growing demand for electric vehicles. If Indonesia succeeds in building a competitive manufacturing ecosystem, it could become an export hub serving neighboring markets. Furthermore, increasing urbanization and environmental concerns are likely to support continued demand for cleaner transportation solutions over the coming decades. However, several challenges remain. The most obvious challenge is price. Although EV prices have declined, many electric vehicles remain more expensive than conventional alternatives. For many consumers, the initial purchase cost continues to be a major consideration. Infrastructure also remains unevenly distributed. While charging stations are becoming more common in major cities, availability is still limited in many regions outside Java and other urban centers. In addition, consumer perception continue to influence adoption rates. Concerns regarding battery lifespan, charging time, and resale value remain common among potential buyers. These challenges do not necessarily prevent market growth, but they may influence the speed at which adoption occurs. From a business perspective, the long-term outlook for Indonesia EV industry remains promising. The industry potential extends beyond vehicle sales alone. revenue opportunities exist throughout the value chain, including mining, battery production, vehicle assembly, charging infrastructure, maintenance service, and software development. Indonesia's greatest advantage is that it participates in multiple stages of this value chain rather than focusing solely on vehicle consumption. If the current investment trends continue and infrastructure development keep pace with demand, Indonesia could emerge as one of the Southeast Asia's most important EV manufacturers and battery production centers. For business, this suggests that the most significant opportunities may not necessarily come from selling electric vehicles themselves, but from supporting the broader ecosystem that makes electric mobility possible.